Hello everyone, welcome back to OCD Recovery's YouTube channel. Today I have a video that I want to call The Truth About OCD Recovery. What many people might not understand, what social media accounts ranging from Instagram to TikTok to YouTube platforms are not really painting the full picture about OCD recovery. How long it kind of took me to have that realization, but remember, compare the suffering is kind of pointless. So as always, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, comment down below. Let me know what you think in the comments section. I always go through and answer lots of questions. I think it's great to interact with people in the community. I always want to say thank you so much for the support. It's been a great journey, lots of ups and downs. It's important to highlight that. And let's just dive right into it. So the truth about OCD recovery. Now I have my notes right down here. I've been trying to get a little bit better with this because I know myself, I can go on tangents. Momin and I joke about this because Momin's videos have been 45 minutes long. So my experience with OCD was probably very similar to many people's experiences with OCD, especially when it latches in that chronic level. I really didn't know what was going on. A lot of the accounts, I started going on YouTube being like, what's OCD? What's sensory motor OCD? What's hyper awareness? And all these people were talking about how to just tell yourself it's okay to breathe every day or to salivate and swallow, that all you have to do is expose yourself. Fortunately for me, I realized very early that exposures are not necessary for sensory motor. Exposures aren't necessary for all fears, so it is important to break that down. There's a lot of people out there saying that ERP exposures are the gold standard for OCD recovery. I'm here to tell you that's not true. We have to be very blunt about that, because if exposures were the only thing necessary to bring you to relief, then we would never have to talk about acceptance ever. It is important to talk about stuff like radical acceptance. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense because acceptance is not radical. You can't have radical self-reassurance statements in the moment. This might work for a non-OCD sufferer, but I truly would think it doesn't work for anyone, not in the way we think it does. So having a list of stuff to say to yourself in the moment, especially when you have OCD and anxiety, is actually really counterproductive because you're really pushing away the feelings. When you're in OCD recovery and maintaining recovery, there's nothing you need to do to say to yourself, even if you have maybe a setback or a backdoor spike really far in, because there's no guarantee. Obviously, the further you get into recovery, the better chances are of those never happening again. As Rob talks about, he doesn't have setback and relapses. I have them every 4 to 6 months now with certain things. Sensory motor, I've had none in almost a year because my acceptance of my life is very, very good. So let's go into the first topic about the real truth about OCD. You can't self-reassure yourself with thoughts, telling yourself you're a good person. You're the least likely person to do that. That's not real. That's just a negative OCD thought. Let that kind of go through your mind. The reason that we talk about this so much is because it's very easy to make an Instagram account posting stuff such as thoughts. These are meaningless. Allow them to come through your mind and out the other side. The reality is those things don't work in the way we think they do. They can create distance between discomfort, but they're not actually going to break down your fears. It's important to cover this because a lot of people are using these techniques, and when they come in for coaching or I talk to them on Instagram or in the WhatsApp group or in the Facebook group, a lot of people are telling me, well, I've been walking around all day telling myself, like, that's an OCD thought. This is not an OCD thought. Kirsty has broke this down on the YouTube channel in a video from about a year ago. She used the experience of typing at her job being like deflecting OCD thoughts. You can't deflect something you're absolutely scared of. The thoughts can give you relief, but only to a certain point. If you have mild OCD and you've been moving with uncertainty and just being like, oh, this is just an OCD type of situation, and that's been working for you, that's great. But what tends to happen is, especially if someone's been suffering with maybe mild OCD that turns into chronic, those tools don't really work anymore. I see the same thing with medications. Medications are great. They can help take the edge off. But the more and more you go down the chronic OCD and anxiety cycle and you don't work on your beliefs, those medication dosages that I see people on usually need to be upped. Again, I'm not here to advise on medication. I'm just telling you what I see from a coaching perspective. Those people need more medications and now multiple different types of medications and higher dosages. And then what happens is they come to a point where the dosages from before just don't work anymore. Again, this is no shame and guilt about taking medications. If you have to be on medications for the rest of your life, so be it. But the goal for anything, whether it's a health purpose, whether it's OCD, the goal is to always be on less medications. That's always the goal. But not for everyone, because there's people out there who have seizure disorders, such as grand mal seizures with epilepsy, who need to be on certain medications for the rest of their lives. But, you know, there's different stories there. A lot of people say that the second thing I want to talk about is going towards your worst case scenario. A lot of people talk about that going towards your worst case scenario is not actually necessary. I'm here to tell you that it's probably the most necessary. The reason why people say that is because it can be very scary to not go towards your worst case scenario. And your worst case scenario for, say, someone like a sensory motor sufferer is the fear of being stuck forever and the fear of it ruining every moment. Once you start to bring that down and realize that it would be frustrating, it wouldn't ruin everything, that's a catastrophic black and white overgeneralization that we put on it. Or OCD, the worst case scenario is maybe you're never going to feel that love sensation, but you could still be with someone and share many good moments. You could still go to Greece. I was watching a Greece documentary with my wife last night. Beautiful. She's been there to 3 different islands. You could still go there and not feel the feeling of love, but still have great moments. Would say an existential person, you don't have to know about death. You don't have to figure that out in order to have peace and contentment. But a lot of people will need to go towards their worst case scenarios when they've been trying to move with uncertainty, thoughts, and it hasn't given them the relief. The reality is this, the third thing I want to talk about, OCD recovery is not easy by any means. It usually takes longer than we want, not a lifetime, but usually longer than we're willing to put up with in the moment. So just that, this is why we say, you know, a little bit further, just a little bit more, or we call people out on reassurance. A lot of the OCD and anxiety recovery community, especially with social media, because it's super easy to upload something like OCD is hell, and it gets 1,000 likes, and then 100,000 likes, and then I upload something such as, hey, unwinding your fears, time and patience, blah, 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 gets 12 likes because people want the easy way out. This is a societal and cultural thing that we have going on right now. It's the first time in history that we can have everything at the axis of our fingertips. It's created such a low frustration tolerance for people and really done people a disservice. One of the most beneficial things in life is going through an experience and suffering. No OCD itself has no benefits, but the recovery journey can have extreme benefits. The last thing I want to talk about is people saying that OCD recovery is subjective from person to person. I'm here to tell you that OCD recovery is not subjective from person to person. It's just not the case. OCD recovery has one meaning, kind of how sobriety has one meaning. If you had someone that came in and they were drinking 30 beers a day and now they're down to 2, that's great progress. Maybe they've gone back to work, but they can't kind of leave that last bit of alcohol on the table. That would be the coasting of OCD recovery. You've been moving with uncertainty, thoughts. You took down a lot of your compulsive and reassurance behaviors, but you haven't gotten to where you want to be. It's super important to realize that that's not OCD recovery. OCD recovery is the absence of chronic anxiety, shame, and guilt. Intrusive thoughts lose their intrusiveness. Your acceptance is very robust. Unconditional self-like other acceptance. You don't have extremely exacerbated emotions for long periods of time. It's not that you'll never get angry again, but you could see it quite rationally. It doesn't last for a long time. So I hope you enjoyed this video. This is the hard truth about OCD. OCD recovery is possible, but it's not nearly as easy as it makes it out to be. It's also important to highlight that you might have 6 to 9 months of really good moments and then get thrown into the biggest relapse you ever had. This is also part of the journey as well. There's no absolute guarantees in recovery, even though you could have years of recovery and then something in the life might happen. But it's important to highlight that if you have unconditional self-like other acceptance, the chances of that happening in the future is brought down. So it is really important to highlight that. As always, thanks for watching. Comment, like this video. This is a little bit more serious of a video because this topic is misinterpreted a lot and it keeps a lot of OCD sufferers stuck. So the summary I want to go over, you can recover. It is hard work. It is going to take a little bit longer. Thoughts usually doesn't cut it at the chronic level, especially if you're super scared of societal rejection or being stuck forever. If you want to learn more about the webinars and coaching services, email phil@ocdrecovery.com. Again, that's phil@ocdrecovery.com. We usually have webinars planned out for a month to 2 months. They're always at 8:30 p.m. UK time. I speak at a lot of them. It's a lot of fun. We laugh a lot. We tell jokes. OCD recovery can be very serious, so it's important to make jokes. We kind of poke fun at one another, especially in the WhatsApp groups. We have a lot of fun because we're different cultures, different backgrounds. We can teach each other different things. So thank you so much for watching this video, and as always, have a great day.